Hello, my dear students. I am myself Dakshani Ijeri, working as an assistant professor from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. I am handling the subject Web Technology and its application for the 7th semester with the code 17CS71. So, Web Technology and its application course for the prescribed syllabus has been divided into the three parts as a HTML, JavaScript, and PHP. So in the first part, HTML, it involves the development of the web pages with a static information that is either in the form of a text, image, or a video. So the JavaScript involves the development of the client-side scripting involving some more computations at the client side itself, that is browser. So in the third part, where the students will be able to develop the dynamic web pages involving both the client-side scripting as well as the server-side scripting. So the computation of the information for the HTML information will be sent to the server side using the PHP scripting and will be sent back to the client in the dynamic web pages. So that is going to be discussed in the third part, that is PHP. So in total, after the completion of this course, the student will be able to develop the dynamic web pages using these three parts as HTML, JavaScript, and PHP. So in order to go through this course, the student should have basic programming skills of any object-oriented programming language and database management. So after the completion of all the 5 modules of this course, the student will be able to develop the dynamic web pages using the HTML, CSS layout, JavaScript, PHP, and even the jQuery and the SQL. So let's start with the first module, that is the introduction to HTML. This module deals with the introduction of HTML syntax, semantic markup, structure of HTML. It describes the application of HTML5 elements and CSS and the location of the styles and the selectors. So after the completion of this module, the student will be able to develop the simple web page using HTML5 elements, application of CSS styles to the web pages. So beginning of the few slides is with some theoretical part of the HTML. So after the few slides, we are directly going to involve into the elements that are useful for the development of the web pages. In turn, we are going to directly deal with the application part, where we'll go in a hand-to-hand session. You people are required to work on it simultaneously in order to develop the web pages as and when we are going to go through all the elements of the HTML. So let's start with some brief history of the HTML here. So how the HTML concept came into existence. During the year 1960s, the Department of the Defense, that is the Advanced Research Project Agency network, led into the development of the HTML, basically with the help of a network. So during the 1960s, the Defense Department has a requirement to share the information to the department which has been located in the other location. So in that case, they came into an idea of the networking, and which in turn came into an idea of publishing the information in the form of a HTML. So basically, you can say that both the networking as well as the HTML came into existence in the year 1960s with the help of a Advanced Research Project Agency networks. So immediately after that, it jumped quickly to the first publication of a specification of HTML by Tim Berners-Lee in 1991. The first HTML page was published in the year 1991 by the Tim Berners. So later, an organization came into existence known as the World Wide Web Consortium in the year 1997 to make the standardization of the HTML pages that were being published in the internet. So what is HTML? So being a full form, it is nothing but a hypertext markup language. But knowing only the full form doesn't mean that you know the significance of the HTML. So HTML, what is hypertext and what is meant by the markup language? That is the most important thing in order to understand what is HTML. So all of you know the meaning of a text, right? So text is nothing but the information that has been taken in this slide as well. But what is meant by the hypertext? Hyper in the sense something more than the text, isn't it? So that means hypertext may be the information in any form. Either maybe the information in the form of a simple text, it may be the information in the form of a image, it may be the information in the form of a video. So together it is termed as a hypertext. Now what is the markup language? So once I go through the next slide, you'll get to know what is the markup language and why it is termed as a hypertext markup language here. So let's have some bookish definition here. A markup language is simply a way of annotating a document in such a way to make the annotations distinct from the text being annotated. So don't be confused with the word annotation or the meaning of the sentence here. So with an example, I'll clearly tell you what is this markup language and why it is meant as a markup language here. So this basically HTML came into existence from the days of a print, where print in the sense it may be a newspaper, it may be a book, or publishing some paperwork, where the editors would write the instructions on the manuscript pages that might be revision instructions to the author or the copy editor. So what is a markup language is where you are going to give some instruction like how the information needs to be displayed. How does it is going to make a distinguish between the different sentences in the information. So let's go through an example here. This is an example here. Probably you are able to see this page here. So you can see the first part in this page is a chapter 2 here. So the next heading is the HTML1 overview, and you have a short history of HTML here, and later on you have some textual information here. So once I give this paper to you all, so being a student, I'll ask you what is this chapter 2. You will clearly say that it is a chapter heading, and then you say what is this HTML overview. You can say that it is a subheading, and next it is a paragraph, followed by you have certain headings as well here. But I do ask you one question here. How will be able to identify that this is a heading, this is a text information, it is a paragraph introduced here, here it is a subheading within the main heading? How will be able to identify? So you will answer me. What kind of answer I'll get from your side? You say that this is with a certain distinguished style, you have it in a larger font size, you have it in a some different font style, or you can say the boldness that is used for this heading is different as compared to the next information that is followed as a paragraph here. So that is nothing but it is said as a markup. So where you will be able to clearly identify that it is a main heading, this is the second heading, it is a bulleted form, it is a paragraph introduced here, right? So if you are highlighted with some bold thing, that means you can say that it is the text that is being important, that's why it has been highlighted. So making the information to be displayed distinguishedly in order to identify all the content or have the different meaning over here is said to be as a markup language. So here in this page you can clearly tell that which is a heading, which is a bulleted information, which is a paragraph here, which is a subheading. So the word or the technique that you sense by just seeing the page, where you can clearly distinguish between these information, the same way can be done in the web pages as well. That's which is said to be as a, or the technique that is used to distinguish this content is said to be as a markup. That's why it is termed as a hypertext markup language. So at its simplest, the markup is a way to indicate the information about the content. So the information about the content in HTML is implemented via tags. So you'll get to know what is a tags, what is the element that is used for building a web page here in the further concepts. So the markup in the previous slide consists of the red text and the various circles and the arrows on the pages and the title, yellow sticky notes on the other. So all the notations that has been used in order to identify the distinguishing elements from the text is said to be as the markup here. So the HTML is also going to do the same thing but uses the textual tags. So here in this case you can see we have written a red notes to tell what does the each of the information indicates here. So in the same way, whenever you are going to build the web pages, you are going to use the HTML textual tags which will tell the web pages to indicate how does the information needs to be displayed on the web page there. So that together it is said as a hypertext markup language. What is W3C? Excuse me. The W3C is the main standards organization of the World Wide Web. When you say the W3C, it is a World Wide Web Consortium. So what it is a standardized organization which is used to promote the compatibility and produces recommendations which you can say put the restrictions on the developers to make all the web pages as a standardization. So in general, what I can tell you why this W3C was introduced is, being a developer, everyone has their own way of developing the web pages. Everyone have their own way of developing, use the creativity to develop the web pages. So it doesn't mean that everyone can use their own way, and all the web pages introduced in internet are very diverse in nature. So to make some uniformity and to make some user friendly, so that the web pages appear in some uniformity, so that the user can easily understand the information displayed in the web pages, the standard organization has been introduced which is known as a W3C here. So in 1998, W3C turned its attention to a new specification called XHTML 1.0. XHTML means Extensible Hypertext Markup Language with the version 1.0, which was the version of HTML that used the stricter XML syntax rules. So the goal of the XHTML with its strict rules was to make page rendering more predictable by forcing web authors to create a web pages without the syntax errors. So with the introduction of this XHTML, certain restriction has been put on authors or web developers to make a uniform web pages on the internet with a minimum syntax errors. The XML means XML based syntax rules for XHTML are pretty easy to follow. So the main rules are what are the restrictions that has been put for the developers is, all the tag names needs to be in lowercase. The attributes that are used in the tags should be in the quotes, and all the elements must have the closing elements. Once the element has been opened, it should have a mandatory closing element. Don't worry about all these notations here. As I go on in explaining regarding the HTML elements, you will get to know what these restrictions are over there. So in this XHTML, you have the two forms. One, you say it as a XHTML 1.0 strict, and another end is the XHTML 1.0 transitional. So why it has been divided as a strict and the transitional here? Do remember that before XHTML, only the HTML language was used for the development of the web pages. So once the XHTML 1.0 has been introduced, you can imagine that there are already existing web pages in the internet which was developed using the HTML. So once you introduce the new XHTML 1.0 strict, it doesn't mean that you are going to stop using the HTML web pages which were developed earlier. So in order to make some gap, or in order to make some flexibility to convert those web pages which were developed using the HTML to the XHTML, the technique that is used here is the XHTML 1.0 transitional. So whereas the XHTML 1.0 strict is a version that is being used by the authors who are going to develop the new web pages once the XHTML 1.0 strict has been introduced. You can see here the strict version was meant to be rendered by a browser using the strict syntax rules and the tag support described by the W3C XHTML 1.0 strict specification. So this means that the authors or the developers, those who are going to develop the new web pages after the introduction of the XHTML, this strict version was used. Whereas in order to make the transition from the HTML web pages to the XHTML web pages, the transitional version has been used. The transitional recommendation is a more forgiving flavor of XHTML and was meant to act as a temporary transition to the eventual global adoption of the XHTML strict. So once the web pages has been developed, then how to validate or how to say that the developer has used all the restrictions or all the rules and the regulations that has been put by the W3C. In order to do that, the validators has been used. That means whenever any developer is going to develop the web pages, they have to provide the URL of that web page, so that this validator will validate saying that the web page has followed all the restrictions put by the W3C here. So this is a URL here, validated.w3.org. Once you open this, it will ask you for the address is nothing but the web page that you have developed. Give that URL and it will validate and tell you that whether the web page has been validated or not. So after the XHTML, the new concept which is being introduced is the HTML5, which is being used right now in order to develop the any web pages here. So by the 2009, the W3C stopped working on XHTML 2.0 and instead adopted the work done by the WHAT-WG, that is Web Hypertext Application Technology Working Group, and named it as a HTML5. So currently whatever the web pages are being developed, those are developed with the HTML5 version. So why this version came into existence? What are the aim of this version, that is HTML5? Specify unambiguously how browsers should deal with invalid markup, provide an open non-proprietary programming framework for creating the rich web applications, and be backwards compatible with the existing web. So there, before this HTML5, there were the many versions like HTML, XHTML 1.0 strict, XHTML 1.0 transitional, and XHTML 2.0. In order to overcome the confusion or the rules and regulations that are being followed with the earlier versions, Web Hypertext Application Technology Working Group came into with a single platform where all authors has to develop the web pages using only the HTML5. So in order to avoid the unambiguity, the browser should follow only the HTML5 version. And to provide a common platform or a single platform to develop the web pages, the HTML5 was introduced. And also with the existing web pages, to build a gap between the existing web pages and the new web pages, the HTML5 was introduced. So what is this HTML5? While the parts of HTML5 are still being finalized, all of the major browser manufacturers have at least partially embraced HTML5. So keep in mind that whenever you are developing the web pages, keep in mind that all the web pages will be executed with the one or the other browsers. So the first browsers has to be compatible with the version with what the web pages will be developed. So as soon as the HTML5 were introduced, almost all the browsers started implementing the compatibility with the HTML5 version. Certainly not all browsers, all versions support every feature of the HTML5. So in that case, still the HTML5 is in revolution. So all the browsers have not yet implemented all the features of the HTML5. So I recommend you, whenever you start working with this HTML5, so try to execute these web pages using the Google Chrome, because the Google Chrome is the only browser which has imparted all the features of the HTML5. So as such, every browser will support a gradually increasing subset of the HTML5 capabilities. Coming to the actual implementation part of the HTML, which involves the elements and the attributes. So as we start with working with the elements, you'll get to know what are the elements, what are the attributes here. So HTML documents are composed of the textual content and the HTML elements. Here it is of the two parts. So when I say that, for example, when I say that this is a particular web page, it's a particular web page, so all the information that is displayed here is a text here. So the information that you can say is a text, and you can see here in this web page, you can see some of the information is in blue color and some of the information is in a black color, and you can see some of the information has been displayed as a bullets here, that is in a subsection like download, Sublime Text 2, support, install for Linux, API reference. These are said to be as a subsection here. So together this text is said to be as a information, but the way it has been displayed is in a different format as a subsection here. So how this is formed, how you can imagine that this has been taken as a blue color, it is a heading or it is a subsection. So that is done with a HTML elements. So the actual information that is conveyed to the user is a textual content, whereas the way in which it is appeared is done with the HTML elements here. An HTML element can contain the text, other elements, or the empty or the attributes. It is defined in the HTML documents by the tags. So with an example in the next slide, you will get to know what is the HTML elements and what are its contents. So HTML elements can also contain the attributes. So an HTML attribute is in the form of a name is equal to value pair that provides more information about the HTML element. So in XHTML, attribute values has to be enclosed in the quotes, but in HTML5 the quotes are the optional. That means you may use or you may not use. So let's discuss with an example here. So probably I think you might have seen the links in the web pages. For example, so here you can see these all are links. So if I click on this link, it will be taken to the new page. So this is also a link. If I click on this, it is taken to the new page. So how these links are created? These links are created with an element known as a, see, suppose if I am using a word as an element or a tag, both are one and the same. Please do not get confused between these two things. Element and tags are both are used as the same, both have the same meaning in the language of the HTML. So these links are created with the element known as a, which is said as an anchor tag. So this is just an example. You can see A has been started with the angle bracket here. So angle bracket has been closed here, and this is a text information which you say it as a name for that link, and the same angle bracket has been closed here, which is said as a closing tag here. So the two angle brackets has been used. So two elements has been used. One, the first part is said to be as a opening tag. The second part where you close it with a forward slash is said to be as the closing tag here. So within this angle itself, you have the one more thing here which is said to be as the attribute. You can see href to tell that once you click on this link, where it has to go. So which web page needs to be opened. The address of that web page is nothing but the value to this attribute, which is said to be as the href here, in short written as a href. So central park is nothing but the name given to that link. So once this is executed, yeah, nothing is going to be appeared, only the central park is going to appear on the web page. Don't worry, I'm going to show you all these things with the execution. So right now you just get familiar with the terms as the elements and the attributes here. So this is the element name A, this is the opening tag, and this is the closing tag, and this is the content information here. So further things I'll continue in the next video. So please stay tuned and please follow the further videos as well.